This meeting is being recorded.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Gurudas Jayadvaita Swami Niti Namine. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Vishnupada Paramamsa Parivrajakaacharya Sotra Shatra Shishama Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramamsa Parivrajakaacharya Sotra Shatra Shishama Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada Ki. Jai अनंत कोटि वैष्णवृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से को श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गो गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की जय। गंगा माया की जय। जमुना माया की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। समवेद भक्त वृंद की jai. All glorious to some of devotees. All glorious to some of devotees. All glorious to some of devotees. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Radhesha Prabhu. And welcome to everyone for Sri Caitanya Caritamrta class with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami. And thank you, Tulsi Priya, for the Vrindavan Mangal Arti screen share. It is Thursday, February 29th, 2024 in New York. And today we're reading in Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, Adi Leela, Chapter 7. And where we left off last time was very lively discussion of a text with a very long purport, which is text 121. And according to my notes, we have gotten as far as the paragraph which begins, "It is to be concluded that the entire cosmic manifestation is a transformation of the energy of the Supreme Lord," which I believe is paragraph number 6. And of course, someone can correct me, but we can start with that at any rate, unless I'm wrong. Yes, it's always morning somewhere. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I will chant the verse and then skip down in the purport to where we left off. As you all may remember, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is speaking to Prakashananda Saraswati, and now he's pointing out the faults in Shankaracharya's presentation in the Sharirika Bhashya. Vyasera sutrete kahi parinamavad, Vyasa branta balitara uthayila vivada. In his Vedanta Sutra, Srila Vyasadeva has described that everything is but a transformation of the energy of the Lord. Shankaracharya, however, has misled the world by commenting that Vyasadeva was mistaken. Thus, he has raised great opposition to theism throughout the entire world. Now, Prabhupada continues to say, "It is to be concluded that the entire cosmic manifestation is a transformation of the energy of the Supreme Lord, not of the Supreme Lord or Absolute Truth himself, who always remains the same. The material world and the living entities are transformations of the energy of the Lord, the Absolute Truth, or Brahman, who is the original source. In other words, the Absolute Truth, Brahman, is the original ingredient, and the other manifestations are transformations of this ingredient. This is also confirmed in the Taittiriya Upanishad 3.1, Yato va imani bhutani jayante. This entire cosmic manifestation is made possible by the Absolute Truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this verse, it is indicated that Brahman, the Absolute Truth, is the original cause, and that the living entities, jivas, and the cosmic manifestation are effects of this cause. The cause being a fact, the effects are also factual. They are not illusion. Shankaracharya has inconsistently tried to prove that it is an illusion to accept the material world and the jivas as byproducts of the Supreme Lord, because in his conception, the existence of the material world and the jivas is different and separate from that of the absolute truth. With this jugglery of understanding, Mayavadi philosophers have propagated the slogan Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, which declares that the absolute truth is fact, but the cosmic manifestation and the living entities are simply illusions, or that all of them are in fact the absolute truth, and that the material world and living entities do not separately exist. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shulakaya Chakshurun Muditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Bandehang Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitangs Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanditang Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Prabhupada says the cosmic manifestation is a transformation of the energy of the Supreme Lord, not of the Lord of the Absolute Truth himself. He stays the same. That's the absolute part of the Absolute Truth. The energies are manifold and they're always changing around, but the Absolute Truth, the ultimate source of all energies, is not. That's the proper understanding that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is trying to make very clear, because Advaitam Achutim Anadim Ananta Rupam, the Lord has so many different forms, but he's still the same absolute truth. The energies transform, but the source doesn't. He's the original ingredient, as Prabhupada says here, like a recipe that's been in the family for uncountable generations. You don't change the original ingredient. Skimpflation does not apply to the absolute truth. Prabhupada also says here, the entire cosmic manifestation is made possible by the absolute truth. And so he's making the point that wherever there's energy, there is an energetic source. It's never otherwise. If you don't see the source of the energy, that's another thing. That's your poor fund of knowledge, as Prabhupada might say. But Krishna himself is so inconceivably great, and the scope of his energies is so inconceivably vast that no one can completely grasp how inconceivably great he is. And since the conditioned tendency is to cheat, someone may cheat by inexplicably and abruptly declaring that the absolute truth is somehow devoid of energies. But the actual fact is that what you should say is that my speculative powers have become exhausted before they reach the ultimate source. That's all. You've just run out of thinking power. The absolute truth hasn't run out of energies. Hare Krishna. Maharaj, we'd love to hear what you might have to say on this segment.
Well, many years ago, when maybe the time of editing Krishna book, Prabhupada was making this same point, that the world is not false. Jagan Mithya. Mayavadis say it's false. We don't say it's false. And I was somewhat perplexed by that because I thought, well, it is false. And isn't that our teaching? It's Maya. And Maya means it's illusion. Illusion means it's false. False. So why do you say Jagan Mithya? What's wrong with that, Jagan Mithya? That was my Brahma Satya, that's no problem. But why? And we agree on that, but Jagan Mithya, seems like we agree on that too. So later I came to understand that the our position is not that it's false, but that it's temporary. The Shankarite position is that it's absolutely false. It doesn't even exist. It's not, nothing exists except the one absolute truth. So Brahma Satya and everything else is mithya. Living entities are mithya. The material world is mithya. The form of the personality of Godhead is mithya. Everything's false. But Prabhupada taught, not false, but not what we think it is. The later will come, I think it's later, this example of the rope and the snake. The rope is not false and the snake is not false. But when we think that the rope is a snake or vice versa, that's false. A dream is not false, it's real. It's a real dream. What we see in the dream may not be real in the sense of persistent, but it's there as an illusion is there. All that glitters is not gold. If we see fool's gold, it may not be gold, but that doesn't mean it's nothing. It's something. When we see, so many examples are there. So the material world is not, we don't need to make it non-existent in the sense of, of not even being here. It's here, but it's manifested by Krishna's material energy, and so it's temporary. Again, we'll come across this idea that Shankara is trying to save Vyasadeva from having an absolute truth that is in some way transformed, because the nature of Brahman is that Brahman is unchangeable. But Vyasadeva has already provided the solution to that issue, and we just have to accept it.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. As you were speaking, I was wondering, well, they're saying in essence that the illusion isn't even there.
Yeah. And I remember in my very early days trying to figure out the nature of things. We see that there are walls, for example, it seems that the wall is there. Is it just an illusion? That if my consciousness changed sufficiently, then the wall wouldn't be there? Is that how things really are? It's just my consciousness is I'm in illusion, so I'm seeing walls, I'm seeing individual people, or I'm seeing whatever there might be. This is all illusory, it's not there. So higher consciousness means to see that nothing is real. But then how do you manage that? How do you navigate that? So it's really impractical. Jagan Mithya, the world is false. And what that leads to is that you have this impractical philosophy where everything is false, but your reality is that everything is apparently real. And so you wind up, again, trying to enjoy what you just considered false. Either you try and fix the falsity, fix the false reality. So you open orphanages and philanthropic institutions to try to improve what you've already declared false. Or you take some other approach. But that you just reject it all, or I know what I was thinking. Either you try to make it better by philanthropy, or you just go for gross sense gratification. Finally, coming to the point of sex, everything is false, but hell, let's enjoy it. That was also because it's said that Shankaracharya comes to advance the progress of Kali Yuga. And that's as much as I was able to figure out is how he does that. When you get the Mayavad philosophy, you first of all, you get this repudiation of the personality of Godhead. You get these philosophical contradictions being pointed out here. You get the implication that Vyasadeva is wrong. But on the ground, as they say, what you get to is sense gratification with a philosophy behind it. Well, nothing's real anyway. Everything, as Prabhupada said, everything's a dream, but they're very expert in trying to enjoy the dream. So that's finally what it goes to. Your Mayavad philosophy fits finally with sense gratification in the popular version.
I don't know whether this is a fair question to ask, but how would they deal with Anandamaya Bhyasat?
Yeah, the absolute truth is by nature blissful, and that's all there is. There's just, what is that? I've forgotten, there's a Sanskrit phrase. But anyway, that's what there is. There's just blissful, eternal existence. But there's no derivatives from that blissful, eternal existence. There are no parts to it. There's no individuality within it. There's just existence, which is, of course, we're not supposed to describe it in terms of qualities, but if we had to, we'd say it's blissful, and so on.
But who's experiencing the bliss? It's meaningless unless somebody's experiencing it.
That's your conventional understanding. The mind is limited. You're just trying to impose your current mindset on an indescribable reality. And that's how you deal with all these contradictions.
In the chat window, Tulsi Priya has a couple of things. How do the Mayavadis account for experience? Even if everything is false and doesn't actually exist, our experience of the illusion still exists. A story in a book can create a very vivid mental or imaginary experience. Is a mental experience less valid than experience through physical senses? I guess it's less real, but it still exists.
No, it doesn't exist. Everything appears to exist. It's only appearance. That's Kavala Advaita. There's only absolute oneness. Everything else is an illusion.
All right, Krishna. But the appearance exists, she says.
The appearance, but what it's a seeming existence. That's what you get from the Buddhists, from the Shankarites. It only appears to exist, but this is an illusion.
Maharaj, the analogy of the snake and the rope seems to be called in here because you say something appears to exist. The appearance has to be based on some sort of reality, because otherwise, how would you know? You know what I mean? It's like if
Our argument, of course, that's our answer.
Yeah.
That is our argument to the Shankarites. They say this is an illusion, the way you're thinking of a snake, a rope to be a snake. That's an illusion. There is no snake. So you're thinking this world to be reality. No, it's not. But then we say, well, why do you have that illusion of a snake unless there's a real snake? And how could there be a rope appearing to be a snake unless there's a rope? So your analogy doesn't work. That's the position that we take, of course. Murari asks, would a hardcore Mayavadi accept that the Vedas are also ultimately false and non-existent? I don't think so. The Vedas are also Shabda Brahma, but the reality they point to is finally a reality in which there's only absolute oneness.
Mm. Mm. And Saraswati Mata says, so Mayavada philosophy means equality through oneness?
Not even equality, because equality implies that A equals B.
Krishna, Krishna. We can move on to our next paragraph unless there are more comments or questions, which I don't see. So, Dana Mataji, would you like to read the next paragraph, the one that starts with, "It is therefore to be concluded"?
I apologize. Page turned. It is to be concluded that the entire cosmic manifestation is a transformation of the energy of the Supreme Lord, not of
Hold
the...
on, just a second, I'm sorry. Did I have the correct one? The correct?
Do I have the correct one? Obviously not. Where is it the next one? I
It is
apologize.
there-
My page split.
It is
It is
therefore
there-
to be that Shankaracharya.
Good. It is therefore to be concluded that Shankaracharya, in order to present the Supreme Lord, the living entities, and the material nature as indivisible and ignorant, tries to cover the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He maintains that the material cosmic manifestation is mithya, or false, but this is a great blunder. If the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a fact, how can his creation be false? Even in ordinary dealings, one cannot think the material cosmic manifestation to be false. Therefore, Vaishnava philosophers say that the cosmic creation is not false, but temporary. It is separated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But since it is wonderfully created by the energy of the Lord, to say that it is false is blasphemous. Do you want me to continue?
Well, thank you for reading that for it. Do you have any thoughts or questions based on what you just read, I guess?
The whole section where it talks about he maintains the material cosmic manifestation is Mithya or false. But this is a great blunder. If the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a fact, how can his creation be false? That part really stuck out to me. Because it's like, yeah, like how can it be false? Like, and where we always talk about like, it's an inverted reflection and all of that. Yeah, I don't know, that really stuck with me and I'm really pondering it. I'd love to hear what Maharaj has to say for that, because yeah. Sorry, I don't have too many good insights, but that part really stuck out.
Thank you so much. Yes, Hare Krishna. Maharaj, we would love to hear what you have to say.
Well, as you said, if the personality of Godhead is real, or if the absolute truth is real, then how can any emanation or part or manifestation of the absolute truth be false? So there you are. I also like this, even in ordinary dealings, one can't think material cosmic manifestation to be false. And it's so practical that we recognize individual differences. Prabhupada, I remember Prabhupada holding a professor by the shirt. If everything is one, why don't you wear a cotton ball instead of a shirt? It's practical dealings. And the famous incident in which Giriraj Maharaj in the early days was talking with a Mayavadi on the Boston Commons, was saying that everything is one. So Giriraj Maharaj asked for his wallet. If everything is one, there's no difference between it's being in your pocket and my pocket. And the Mayavadi had to agree and give the wallet. And I think later asked for it back. The same thing happened with Gurudas. He was in some dharmashala with a Mayavadi. Everything is one. So it was a little cold at night. Gurudas said, well, since everything is one, there's no difference between your having that chadar and my having that chadar. So in that way, the Mayavadi wound up shivering and Gurudas wound up with the chadar. So even in ordinary dealings, you can't think that everything's false. So we say not false, but temporary.
Thank you, Maharaj. Tulsi Priya gives a section from the purport to Bhagavad Gita 15:1 purport. The tree of this material world is only a reflection of the real tree of the spiritual world. This reflection of the spiritual world is situated on desire, just as a tree's reflection is situated on water. Desire is the cause of things being situated in this reflected material light. One who wants to get out of this material existence must know this tree thoroughly through analytical study. Then he can cut off his relationship with it. Thank you very much for that. And continuing with our purport from today, Radhesha Prabhu, are you available to read the paragraph starting with non-devotees factually appreciate? Until we get a response from Radhesha Prabhu, Saraswati Mata says, how do Mayavadis explain transmigration of the soul and the different material bodies and their situations?
Different Mayavadis explain it different ways. The Shankara Mayavadis say that the mind carries the soul from one body to the next. What is that? Manaschayam Vishayanupasevate. That's stated in Bhagavad Gita. The mental impressions carry the soul from one body to the next. This is all due to our, it's all illusory, of course. Ultimately, everything is one, but this is what's going on in the material world as long as we're under this illusion. It seems that we're something separate. And so, according to our mental state, we travel from one body to the next. The Buddhist impersonalists, Buddhist Mayavadis, have a different picture. For them, there is no soul. But there's just a sort of combination, temporary combination of body and mind and impressions and so on. And the particular set of impressions and, sort of, what's the word, transfer or reappear in the next set of body, mind, and impressions and so on. But there's no soul there. There's just it's a sort of continuation of these material forces, material elements and material forces, body, mind, impressions, clinging, and so on. That's their picture, but there's no soul. That's not part of their outlook.
Krishna. Such a grim outlook from our point of view. Devi's child says, Hare Krishna, in theism, one question still remains. How did the jivas who were with Krishna originally, who had the bliss and the knowledge of Krishna at the time, become slaves of the material energy? If one has the intelligence of Krishna, he will never make the mistake of thinking the material energy will have more happiness than being with Krishna. He will never misuse his personal freedom.
He is not Krishna. He doesn't have the intelligence of Krishna. He has tiny intelligence, which he can misuse. That's freedom. He has the freedom to misuse his intelligence. The freedom to misuse his freedom. That's all. He's tiny.
Right. And Saraswati
Marginal.
Mata. Marginal, yes. And continuing from her previous question, Saraswati Mata says, but then we have different personalities in each body too? She's speaking of from her previous explanation of transmigration from the Mayavad point of view. Or
Yeah. The same for the Shankarites, the same soul with the same material desires and impressions and karma and so on is traveling from one body to the next. And for the Buddhists, the same combination of body, mind, desire, and so on is being transferred to the next body. So the particular personality is persistent in terms of the material energy. For the Shankarites, there's personality, but it's a product of illusion. And for the Buddhists, the same thing. There's personality, but it's a product of illusion. For the Shankarites, it's illusion because everything is one. And for the Buddhists, it's illusion because everything is zero. So you have your choice of one or zero. But either way, this individuality is illusory. That's how they would look at it.
Krishna, Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. Devi's child has a couple of comments. He says, if we are part of Krishna, this is coming from his previous statements, if we are part of Krishna, we are bound to have connection to the intelligence of Krishna. When we say Krishna consciousness, aren't we saying that we are people who know that being with Krishna has more bliss than the material energy?
Yeah, we're part of Krishna, but that doesn't mean you're bound to be connected to Krishna's intelligence, but Krishna connected in different ways. If you want, Krishna will give you intelligence by which to reach him. If you want to forget him, he'll give you that kind of intelligence. So that's up to us. Krishna reciprocates. You want to, otherwise we can't forget Krishna without Krishna's help. Even that. So the person who wants to forget Krishna, all right, Krishna help.
Murai Gupta Prabhu says, at one level, we say that only that which is eternal is real. So, is the material manifestation somehow eternally temporary and therefore not false?
Yeah, in one sense, the material energy is always there. The material energy is not false, it's always existing. May sometimes be manifest and sometimes not manifest, but it's existing. Eternally, not eternally temporary, but eternally manifesting the temporary. Or sometimes, when Krishna wants, manifesting the temporary.
And then Devi's child says, if we know now that Krishna is superior and we can resist the material energy, why didn't we do that originally when we were with Krishna?
You'll never figure that out. You'll never figure that out. Partly because you're talking in terms of now and then, but in the spiritual world, there's no time. So you're imposing a temporal picture on a timeless realm. You're trying to locate when that event occurred that we turned away from Krishna. This is all. This is going to blow our circuits. We're not able to accommodate a full understanding of these things, but we can understand it in summary that we're eternally marginal, and therefore we have eternal freedom and therefore eternal capability of misusing that freedom. That's that much we can understand.
He continues to ask, isn't that one of the points which non-theists can make use of against theism?
Oh, one of millions of points. They can go on talking and talking. But when they're on the offensive, they'll say that. But then they're on the defensive when they have to explain where anything came from. They have their own more serious problems. But yes, they can put that, of course. Why would? And then, you're supposed to be perplexed and you're supposed to stop in your tracks and so on. But it's something like the man in the water arguing that somehow it's very important to understand how he got stranded in the water. And until he understands that, there's no point grabbing the rope and being rescued. And then again, what's the point of being rescued? Because I could fall in the water again, all of that. So, yeah, sure, they can make those arguments, but it's not to their advantage.
Saraswati Mata says, as per Mayavadis, if Brahman is all-pervading everywhere, then how can it be covered by a separate entity, Maya, if everything is one ultimately? Maya then is another entity?
Yeah, that's the Achilles heel of their doctrine. If everything is one, where does Maya come from? Even accepting that individuality and so on is illusory, where does the illusion come from? That is a question that they can't answer.
Tulsi Priya says Prabhupada gives a very beautiful explanation in his lectures in Tokyo in 72 or 74. It settled the question conclusively for me. And Devi's child responds with a question, don't we usually say to find a solution, it is necessary to find the source of the problem?
The source of the problem is our misuse of independence. Which arises from our own independence. Krishna is absolutely independent in all respects. We have some tiny independence. Independence means there doesn't have to be a reason. Or you can say it's unreasonable.
If it's okay, can we maybe we could move ahead in this purport? So Priyanka Mataji, could you start with the next paragraph starting with non-devotees factually appreciate?
Yes, Rauji. Non-devotees factually appreciate the wonderful creation of material nature, but they cannot appreciate the intelligence and energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is behind this material creation. Sripad Ramanujacharya, however, refers to a sutra from the Aitreya Upanishad 1.1.1, Atma va idam agra asit, which points out that Supreme Atma, the Absolute Truth, existed before the creation. One may argue, if the Supreme Personality of Godhead is completely spiritual, how is it possible for him to be the origin of creation and have within himself both material and spiritual energies? To answer this challenge, Sripad Ramanujacharya quotes a mantra from the Taittiriya Upanishad 3.1 that states, Yato va imani bhutani jayante yen jatani jivanti yat prayanti abhi samvishanti. This mantra confirms that the entire cosmic manifestation emanates from the Absolute Truth, rests upon the Absolute Truth, and after annihilation again re enters the body of the Absolute Truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The living entity is originally spiritual, and when he enters the spiritual world or the body of the Supreme Lord, he still retains his identity as an individual soul. In this connection, Sripad Ramanujacharya gives the analogy that when a green bird enters a green tree, it does not become one with the tree. It retains its identity as a bird, although it appears to merge with the greenness of the tree. To give another analogy, an animal that enters a forest keeps its individuality, although apparently the beast merges with the forest. Similarly, in material existence, both the material energy and the living entities of the marginal potency maintain their individuality. Thus, although the energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead interact within the cosmic manifestation, each keeps its separate individual existence. Merging with the material or spiritual energies, therefore, does not involve loss of individuality. According to Sri Ramanujacharya's theory of Vishishta Dvait, although all the energies of the Lord are one, each keeps its individuality, Vaishishtya. Sripad Shankaracharya has tried to mislead the readers of the Vedanta Sutra by misinterpreting the words Anandmayo Abhyasat, and he has even tried to find fault with Vyasadeva. All the aphorisms of the Vedanta Sutra need not be examined here, however, since we intend to present the Vedanta Sutra in a separate volume.
Thank you, Priyanka Mataji. Any reflections or questions based on what you just read?
Mm. Prabhuji, not now.
All
Hare
right.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for reading. Maharaj, would you care to comment on this last part of this long purport?
I think we've covered the territory quite well. This example is powerful, the green bird in the green tree, or the animal entering the forest. The animal doesn't become the forest, the bird doesn't become the tree. So that pretty well sums it up. Individuality permanently exists, and the evidence is given. Ito va imani bhutani jayante. No further elaboration from me.
No, thank you so much, Maharaj. When I hear these extensive explanations from Prabhupada and notice the fact that we have been churning on this purport for quite some time now, it really makes me think that Prabhupada certainly wrote these purports for us so that we can get it straight in our own minds, first and foremost. Case in point, Devi's child continues the previous line of thought. Until we figure out how we became the slave of Maya in the first place, doesn't the problem persist?
No. Maybe ye prapadyante maya me tam tarantite. Just surrender to Krishna, chant Hare Krishna, and the problem doesn't persist. If you have to wait till you figure it out, the problem's going to persist a long time. So Krishna, no, don't try to figure it out. Just surrender. Bahunam janmanamante gyanavan mam prapadyate. Gyanis who finally figure it out surrender to Krishna. So we might as well surrender now and then save ourselves the trouble.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Tulsi Priya, you have a hand up?
Hare Krishna. I just wanted to, I don't know if this is a useful analogy, but I was looking at Devi's child, Prabhu's last comment, and I was thinking, people become smokers even though they know that it's not good for them. And you start smoking one cigarette and you are in the association of other smokers, so it's easy to make the decision to smoke the next cigarette. And before you know it, you can't not smoke a cigarette. So if you can do that with a cigarette, even though you know better to start off with, then it seems to me kind of similar with being in the material consciousness. It's a decision that you make, and then that decision leads to another decision, and before you know it, you're on the hook and you can't stop unless you get some kind of superior knowledge or you get some sort of inspiration or something like that to quit, or you've suffered enough. And there's no rhyme or reason to why we smoke, and there's no rhyme or reason to why we're in material consciousness. We just made a choice, and then we get on the hook, and we can't let go of it without a lot of help. We can't quit on our own. Anyways, that's just a thought. I don't know if it's useful or not, but
Thank you so much, Hare Krishna. We have reached 7:54 and we have reached the end of our purport. And Wait, there's two more things in the chat box there. 3, right at the end. Davies Child says, but didn't we already surrender and serve Krishna originally? After all, we were with him.
Again, you're not going to figure it out. Originally, what is originally? When was originally? You're not going to penetrate that. So if you want, you can go on and on and on and on and on with it, but you're going to be going around in circles. And meanwhile, the waves are tossing. We're gulping water. We're shivering. So at some point, at every point, we have the choice: keep arguing or grab the rope.
Maharaj, it reminds me of Lord Brahma at the beginning, wondering about the origin of the jiva, trying to find out the origin through his own efforts, didn't produce satisfactory results.
Yeah.
Praveen Krishna Prabhu says, argument. Maya is the perverted reflection of Brahman. It does not exist separate from Brahman. Due to Maya, we perceive Brahman differentiated. It is our realization. Unless we realize, we are in that reflection. But once realized, we are no more in the differentiation. It is a state of consciousness of Brahman.
I don't see how that really takes you anywhere. Due to Maya, we perceive Brahman differentiated. It's our realization, okay, our realization. Unless we realize that we are in the reflection. So there's a we there. Once we realize, then there's no more differentiation. It's a state of consciousness of Brahman. How is Brahman in that state of consciousness? Or how are we in that state of consciousness? Brahman can't be in that state of consciousness because that's a state of being an illusion, Supreme Brahman. But we as tiny parts of Brahman, we can be in that state of illusion. So there we are.
Thank you, Maharaj. I think it's time to pause for kirtan, and
Yes.
let's see who can lead kirtan this evening. Let's see. Krishna Kaunteya Prabhu, are you available to lead kirtan this evening?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Jayam Vishnu Pad Brahmsala Parivajakacharya Astotara Sata Sri Sriman, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai, Namacharya Sri Dasa Kaur Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya Savior of the World, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Prem Se Gaur Sri Krishna, Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Sri Radha Krishna, Gopal Gopinath Shamakun, Radhakun, Giri Govardhana Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, Jai Sri Guru Engaranga, Guru Das Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai, thank you so much, Krishna Konteya Prabhu. And thank you, everyone, for all of your participation, comments, questions, everything. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for being with us. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Kendra Prabhu.
Shri Caitanya Caritamrta Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hope to see you all tomorrow for Srimad-Bhagavatam. Share these links with your friends. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.